Hi, Maria.
Hi, Bob.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Let me introduce us. I'm Robert Wright. This is the Wright Show on Meaning of Life TV. You are Maria Popova. You are the creator and proprietor of the well-known site brainpickings.org. And, if I had to describe this site, I might say that if there's one site other than Meaning of Life TV whose focus is the meaning of life, that would be your site. Is that one fair way to describe it? It's about the meaning of life?
It's a very generous way to describe it. It's about the meaning of a particular life, perhaps through many past lives. But it is essentially a record of what is meaningful to me as a subjective, individual, human person at a point in time.
Okay. Now, when somebody asks you at a party or something, if you run into somebody who hasn't heard of the site, and I would think that would be a declining portion of the population, but I'm sure there are some.
Parents among them.
Is that true?
No, they know my site, but the conversation of what do you do is a perennial dinner table.
They're still trying to figure out what the point of your existence is?
Yes.
Well, it's a job somebody's got to do, I guess. Well, what do you tell them or anybody if other than to say it's about the meaning of life? If you have two or three sentences to describe what you're up to on this site, what do you say?
Depending on how serious or not I'm feeling, I would say something like, I write about dead people's forgotten books and try to extract from them some semblance of understanding of what it means to live a meaningful, substantive, fulfilling life.
Right. And it's these dead people, I would say, they tend toward philosophical in one sense or another, but they tend to be, I would say, philosophers, writers, poets. Is that accounts, artists?
I don't think disciplinary boundaries have ever really mattered much to me, which is why I write about such diverse fields. And I should also say that I'm, at this point, what's considered an internet ancient, that my site is in its 10th year, which means it has evolved enormously. I began it when I was in my early 20s, and so it has evolved as much as I have. And so the focus has shifted. Yes, right now, I would say probably a significant portion would be classified as those fields that you mentioned and do have a philosophical dimension, but it's never a selection criterion per se. It's more of a byproduct.
Okay. And just for people who haven't seen the site, typically you will write a short essay that addresses some question, often about how to live your life or how to think about life, in which you will quote, you'll usually focus on a particular thinker. You may allude to more than one thinkers, but you'll highlight something that they have said that's interesting, that's important. You don't generally chase the news. Now, recently, when David Bowie died, I noticed that you put up, you found somewhere where he had listed his some of his favorite books.
Well, that's actually from my archive. It's a piece that I did a number of years ago about the Proust questionnaire. Oh no, his favorite books. Yes, that's also from the archive. And when something happens, I would say, I guess, in the news, I mean, you in your conversation with Andrew Sullivan, who I love, Andrew and I talk a lot about this notion of cultural stewardship. What does it mean? And I think a lot of what I do deals with preserving the legacy and the ideas of people who have, died and who are no longer newsworthy, but are very worthwhile in their thinking and their person. And so when something happens in the news, somebody's death, today, Martin Luther King Day, I would pull something up from the archive that kind of reminds us that, hey, this person existed and mattered, and here's something substantive that they did that is as relevant today as it was when it was done.
And what did you do for Martin Luther King Day? On your site.
I very rarely write things